Thanks, Ken. So this is us in Melbourne now, 2015, just over 4 million people. Plan Melbourne talks about our population growing to over 7.7 million people by 2050. That's over 3.5 million people in the next 35 years. That's 100,000 new Melburnians every year for the next 35 years. So where are we going to put them all? So currently, you would know that we have a two-speed housing economy in Melbourne. So in the city, we have the urban compression model. And everyone keeps on talking about this being a solution to the housing problem, but it's not. It's actually a commodity market. So what's happening in the city, this massive building boom, the high-rise towers, the high density in the city, is actually about making money for the developers. The developers then sell 85% of the building stock in the CBD is sold to overseas investors. Those overseas investors then rent that out to Melburnians for as much as they can. At no point in that process does anyone care about the people living in those apartments. On the flip side of that, we have the Great Australian Dream. So this historic idea that Australians want to live in a freestanding house on a quarter-acre block with a picket fence out the front. And no one's ever questioned that. But, maybe times have changed. And I think I want to talk to you about this idea of modern isolation and what's it like to live in these places. So when you enter these buildings in the city, you either drive your car into the basement or you enter through a ground floor lift lobby. You hop in a lift and it takes you up 32 floors. You get out into a lift lobby with no natural light because in Melbourne there is no CEP 65 like there is in Sydney, environmental design guidelines for multi-residential buildings. And then you walk 20 metres down a corridor and go into an apartment and never get to meet the people that live around you, the hundreds of people that live around you. It's also been proven that in apartment buildings over about 70, it's impossible to know your entire community. Some of these apartment buildings in the city are apartment buildings of over 400 apartments. The other model, the Great Australian Dream model, this is a photo of Craigieburn. This is 26 kilometres north of the CBD. So imagine you've been to work all day, you finish work, you get in your car, you drive home, it takes you an hour and a half to get home. Each of these houses has a driveway at the front. You drive into your driveway, into your garage, the roller door closes behind you. You then walk through the door from your garage into your living room to be with your family, but you never engage with the people in your street. To go anywhere in Craigieburn, there's no trains, they don't run out there. Well, it finishes there, but it doesn't go around there. There's no trams, limited buses, everything's spread out. So to get anywhere, you have to go in your car, which means you can't walk past your neighbours to engage with them on a daily basis. So the urban compression model is currently happening, the high-rise towers are happening within a 1 kilometre radius of the CBD, and the urban sprawl model is happening up to 25 kilometres from the CBD. So we think that the answer is not some giant leap, but rather a little bit of moderation. And I guess, why would we want to build here? Why would we want to live here? And maybe the answer is this moderated response, where rather than having super tall, super dense towers, or rather than having freestanding houses, instead we do something in between, medium-rise buildings, and we build vertical communities in those areas. And these areas have things like public transport, trains, trams, buses, have other things like kindergartens, schools, markets, and often our friends and family live around here and our workplace is close by. The average cost of running a car in Australia is $11,500 a year. If you live in the outer suburbs, people generally need 2 cars. It's already a very expensive city to live in. So part of our solution is about the idea of focusing more on people and less on cars. So who would want to live, close to the city? Could that possibly be something that Australians would want to live in? So in Rome, people choose to live close to the city. In Barcelona, in Paris, in Amsterdam, even in New York, and in Copenhagen. And what's interesting about all these cities, particularly European models, is that they're very, very pedestrian focused. They're more about people than they are about cars. We think this is the light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps. So as an architect, I thought the solution was in architecture, was a built solution. So in 2007, I got together with 5 of my colleagues and we put all of our money together and we bought a site in Brunswick. And we thought that we would design Australia's flagship sustainable building, a building that would view its success through a different lens, view its success through a triple bottom line development, that it would be financially sustainable, that we could secure construction finance for it, that it would be affordable to live in, it would be ecologically sustainable, so it would reduce the impact of or mitigate climate change rather than make it worse, and that it would be livable. So the apartments would be big enough to swing a cat in, because that's not happening a lot here. We built this thing in Brunswick called the Commons. So there's 24 apartments at the Commons. There's a cafe downstairs. There's even a yoga studio downstairs. There's a shared rooftop laundry, so we all come together to, wash our clothes together. Weird, I know. Sounds Spartan, I know, but it's kind of cool. We have a rooftop area to come together in, and we have barbecues once a month up there. And we have a rooftop garden and a beehive on the roof. So how do you deliver something that's going to be sustainable, and how do you deliver something that's going to be bigger, more spacious? And then how do you still make that affordable? So we questioned the entire idea about what does an apartment need to be, and we went through this architecture of reduction. So importantly, this building is right next to the train station. We took the basement car park out and we saved $750,000 out of the cost plan. So massive reduction in the cost. Instead of having 24 car parks, we have 74 bike parks. Also, instead of having a garage door on the street, we have a yoga studio. It's a much better interface with the street. We took out all the second bathrooms because we asked ourselves, what do people actually need, rather than what does the real estate agent tell people that they need? So by taking out all the en-suites and the second bathrooms, we saved $200,000 out of the cost plan. We designed the building like all good architects should. We pointed it towards the sun. We made sure we let winter sun in. We insulated it well. We double glazed it. We did our job as architects, and then we were able to take the air conditioning out. We saved another $200,000 out of the cost plan. And this went right through the entire building. We took out all the plasterboard ceilings, which sounds, again, Spartan, but instead of having a flat plasterboard ceiling, we have this higher ceiling, so more volume, more light, more space. Also, by exposing the concrete floor above, it gives us a better thermal response. The building performs really well. We took out the ceramic tiles. So generally, tiles will travel from Italy or from Spain. So there's a lot of embodied energy in tiles that come from halfway around the world to go on our bathrooms. So we just took them out and found other solutions. We took out all the chrome plating, so right down to the door furniture and the taps. So chrome is an energy-hungry, toxic process. We just took it out, and again, it saved us cost and gave us a unique solution. That entire kind of exercise in reduction reduced the construction cost by about $1.3 million, which enabled us to reduce the cost of all the apartments, to make it more affordable. And this is what it looks like. I bought an apartment in this building, so this is where I live, with my wife, and we agreed, Tamara and I agreed to live here. I got her to agree to live here for 18 months. So I'm an archi nerd. I wanted to gather temperature data, humidity data. I wanted to understand the travel habits of the people that were living here with no cars. So Tamara agreed to live there with me for 18 months. We've been living there for 15 months now, and she's told me that she never wants to leave. And I'd like to think that that's because I've done such an awesome job and it's a great building, but it's actually not. It's actually because of our neighbours. So these are my neighbours at the Commons. And what's been incredible about this is that the architecture seems to have acted as a catalyst to attract a specific type of human. So the people that live here are this engaged bunch, these people that care about each other and care about society and care about sustainability. So we all have kind of common goals and common interests. So we communicate with each other in blackboards, downstairs or up on the roof next to the laundry. We communicate with each other, McLeod doesn't know how to grow a carrot, so, he'll ask Jody, how do I grow a carrot? And so we talk about, how to garden on our rooftop garden. We talk to each other in the lift, in the stairs. We have dinner at each other's places, or the night before a TEDx talk, you'll go call Kate and Jason and say, I need to come and show you something. So they're an incredibly supportive bunch. we're not the only ones that think it's successful. So this building won a swag of awards. So it's been seen to be a massive design success. But it's actually a financial failure. So we bought this site in 2007, just prior to the GFC. And so when we went to the bank in 2012 and said we'd like to borrow $7.1 million to build it, the bank said there's no way we're going to lend that sort of money to 6 architects. We had to find a sustainable developer in Melbourne to finish the job for us, and that was terrifying. It took us about 3 or 4 months to shop around, and we finally found someone that we thought was going to deliver it as we designed it, and we found Small Giants, which is a St Kilda-based ethical investment company. So we were very, 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 very lucky to find them. So during that time, we thought we were going to lose control of the project, and we could have. And so what we learned through that process was that good design is only part of the equation, that the decision makers in property development set the goalposts, and that property development is a business, it's not a housing provider. The current development model, the commodification of housing, why would that change? Currently, its goalpost is very singular. It's all about making money. And as long as they're making money, why would it change? We want to build a different model. We want to move the goalposts just a little to the left. So the way that we've done this is that we've built something called the Nightingale model. So instead of building an architectural solution, we've built essentially a financial model as a solution. So we've put together 25 ethical investors and 1 architect. And we've changed the goalposts. So the success of this is now viewed under the lens of a housing project. And for that housing project to be successful, it has to be a triple bottom line development. So it has to be financially sustainable, it has to be sustainable, ecologically sustainable, and it needs to be livable. Something that someone wants to live in. Something that someone wants to buy into and live there for a long time. Something that I would live in. I think that's the lens. So our goal is to build a triple bottom line development and then release that IP to other architects to make it replicatable. This is all of the sustainability measures that we've put into this first Nightingale model in Florence Street. So it starts with, 0 car parking. So the goal is 0 cars, 0 carbon. No car parking, no air conditioning, no second bathrooms. 17 kilowatts of solar PV on the roof. Productive gardens. This one's even got a chicken run on the roof and bees, right? It's, but the reason that we can do these things is because it's architect-led. It's not developer-led. We want to make sure these things are livable. So we're just applying simply Sydney space standards, the Sydney design codes, to our Nightingale model projects. Because there's no way to moderate that in Melbourne currently. And then we want to make sure that we provide not only livable apartments, but also shared spaces for everyone to come together to help that community thrive. If you look at the end of this graph up there, that's the difference between a Nightingale model purchase price for an apartment owner and a standard development model purchase price. And I'm going to show you how that works in the first project that we're doing in Florence Street. So we've not just taken that idea about taking cost out during the construction phase, but across the entire project. So by taking out the marketing team, we save $50,000 in this case. By not building a display suite, because we've got the commons, so we just take people across the road and show them the commons, we save $100,000. By not employing some guy in a shiny suit with shiny shoes and a shiny car to sell someone some dream about what they might want, we can save $250,000. By taking out all the en-suites and the second bathrooms, we save $200,000. My personal favourite is taking out the car parking. You can tell I'm no fan of personal car ownership in Australia. We can save $500,000. And remember, this is right next to a train station. And again, if we do our job as architects and design the building properly in Melbourne, which is a temperate climate, we don't require air conditioning, which not only saves cost during construction and through the project, but also saves running costs throughout the year. Incidentally, my electricity bill last month in the Commons was $11 for usage and $32 in metering. If you take that saving of $1.2 million and you divide that across the 20 apartments that we've got at Florence Street, we get a saving on each apartment of $62,000. That's a big saving, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that people are interested in buying Nightingale apartments because it's actually good value to live in a well-designed building with a totally different set of goalposts. So Nightingale started with 11 people emailing us after we finished the Commons saying, can we buy an apartment? Are you going to do another one? There's now 210 people on a wait list and we only have 20 apartments. So where are we at? So last August, all the shareholders signed up and invested their money. We purchased the site in November. We interviewed all of the people that were interested in living in this building in Florence Street. So we interviewed 53 people, and we took some of those out who wanted to buy as investors. We're interested in delivering the Australian dream to owner-occupiers. So we only left owner-occupiers in the mix. We then got all of the results from that survey and tweaked our design to answer what people actually wanted, to change it to suit their needs. And then we lodged our planning application. We then drew a ballot to number the order in which people could be able to choose which apartment they wanted. So it was an egalitarian system for choosing who gets in when, rather than being a cash-based, highest payer gets to choose first. And then last week we got our planning approval from the City of Moreland. All we've got to do now is actually the easy part for us, is build it. And that's what we're good at. So this is what Nightingale will look like. So where to now? So this is us here, Nightingale version 1 on Florence Street. So of those 25 investors, 6 of those were architects. So the second Nightingale project under 6 Degrees Architects has just begun. The next 4 Nightingale projects are just in their initial stages of getting the shareholders underway. Next year, there might be 15 of these projects running. In 10 years, there might be 500, I don't know. But the idea is that we catalyse an industry change from the ground up, with architects leading the charge and Melburnians who care about the future of the city investing in behind those architects. And for us as architects, I think that's the light. Thank you.